Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of 4Fusion Friday. That's right. We have arrived at the first Friday of the month. Seems like we've been doing this for a while, right? 3 years, right, George?
3 years.
Three
Three
plus.
years, 3 years and a month, right? Something like that.
Yep.
Yep, exactly. So we're here once again, ready to talk fusion. We've got another special guest. He's been here before. Let me
Yep.
reintroduce once again, Mr. Danny Rabin from Marvin. What's going on, Danny? How are you?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, just excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. Glad to have you. Good to see you again. And
Good to
of
see you.
course, let me introduce the founding fathers of the show, George Lamie and Eric Porter. And today, Eric is going to host the show. George has turned the reins over to Eric. So, with that being said, Eric, take it away.
This could be my one and only time, so I'll take the chance. It goes okay. So good to see you, Danny. Thanks for
Good to
joining
see
us.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Um,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, and probably to nobody's surprise, this will be a guitar episode. So kind of
Ah,
excited about that.
I'm
So yeah, it's
Ah,
shocking, right? Shocking. But first, as George always does, let's get to some new releases. And Pete, I'm gonna let you have a little fun with this one because you just reviewed this for the show. This is I've actually got a threefer from Norway. So we've got Soft Fog Focus. That actual release date, we've had this for a while, but I think that
yeah, it
release
comes
date
out Friday. Yeah.
yeah,
Today it comes out
comes
today.
out May. Yeah. So it comes out today. And you gave your thoughts. Like you said, I think mix a camel focus, but I think from the fusion aspect, these guys are great.
Yeah.
I went 4.5 on this one, but it could have gone 5. It was really good.
Yeah,
never heard
it's
of
pretty
them.
special. It's
Never
really
heard
good.
about this band. What's the deal?
From Norway, this is their second release. I think they had their first release was 2022.
Cool.
But first I'd heard of them and love it. Terrific stuff.
Yeah, Danny, it's a four-piece, so it's bass, drums, keyboards, and guitar.
Hmm.
All instrumental stuff. You can hear a little Camel, a little Focus, maybe a little Finch, but I hear some Brandex and some other
Yeah.
like classic fusion acts in there as well. Very melodic, but pretty fiery.
Okay.
Up-tempo stuff. Really good. Really.
Okay. Cool.
And I think I want to mention because this next band is also on that is a Jazz Records label, and they put out some great stuff. We had Crocofant, which we both loved that one. George, I think you dug that one as well.
Hmm.
This band, I'm sure I'm going to mess up the pronunciation. Um, Data Dyer, I think. I don't know. I haven't had much of a chance to listen to this one. I did have their first one. This goes back, I think, to 2022. Good. There was definitely sax and guitar, a little more low key maybe than Soft Fog, but still definitely in that fusion vein. And I'm still getting into that. I'll be reviewing this one for the site. But, again, I think this label, some really good stuff coming out from them. Um, this is our third from Norway, and Ken turned us on to this one. This is Andre Drage, I think is the correct pronunciation, and it's Wolves is the title of the album, but he also has something coming, or he has something out, I think. If you go out to the Bandcamp page, there's a second one. This one I got really monstrous. I think they described it as a mix of Mahavishnu and King Crimson. I would not argue with that. Really, really good stuff. And the other album I heard, I can't remember the name offhand. I got a Zappa vibe from it, more so than what I'd heard on this one, but really good stuff. And I think that one is already out. I think it's only vinyl or download as of right now. So, George, I'm going to let you hit on this one. Nankai Trio, Antarctica. And I think that came out, is that the 18th, maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
this the guitarist from Dissolve, the bassist from Fragile, and the drummer from Kyosen. Japanese power trio. Just massive stuff. A front runner for CD of the year so far, I would say.
Yeah, the more I listened to it, I got 2 or 3 listens in, and I really was digging that. So I thought that was really good. And I think we'll be getting our hands on that somewhere along the line soon, I think.
Yeah.
Got to have the physical. So, and I think this is last for the new releases. This is one George turned me on to. Varden Das, Childlike. I believe from out of New York City, correct, George?
Yeah.
And again, I think you had actually done some investigation on the lineup. Um, this guy played, is he multi-instrumentalist?
No, he's the drummer.
Drummer? Okay.
It's pronounced Varun
Maroon.
Das.
Okay.
They all go to music college there in New York. I don't know which one. Yeah, it's guitar, bass, sax, and drums. Then there's no keyboards on it whatsoever. They have
Which
a guest Iwi player on track 6 that threw Eric.
threw
But
me because I told George there's a monster synth solo on this, and he's like, "No, there isn't."
and Charles Altura guests on guitar on the last track. A lot of people know him, the West Coast guy.
Hey, he's
Uh,
badass.
yeah, totally. And the guitar player in the band is badass too. I never heard of the
Yes.
guy,
What's
but
his
yeah,
name?
Michael. I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Young kids. They're all young kids. Yeah, if this is the future, it's looking good because this is hot stuff. The album's
Cool.
up on YouTube, and
I guarantee you it's not the future.
yeah, but yeah, people should check it out.
Awesome. So that pretty good list of new releases. I mean, that's a hot set for 2025. Like George said, there's definitely a couple top rated ones in there that I think we will see some of these come the end of the year. So
Yeah.
excited about that. So, all right. So let's get to the Foursquare. So my choices for this month, we've got Al DiMeola, Land of the Midnight Sun, Allan Holdsworth, IOU. We have John McLaughlin, Extrapolation. And finally, Larry Coryell, Barefoot Boy. So, as George usually does to me, since I'm hosting, George, you can kick us off on this one.
I knew you were going to do that.
I knew it too.
My number 4 is the McLaughlin. 1969, more of a post-bop record than a fusion record to me. It's fine, but for me, it's not very distinctive as a John McLaughlin record. In fact, I'm not even sure he's the star performer here because John Sermon is wailing on sax. He's a really impressive player. I like the title track opener and Pete the Poet, probably right up there, but most of this doesn't raise the needle for me. I don't know if it's because it's more of a traditional jazz record or because it's just kind of uninspired tunes and not a lot of memorable melodies. But for whatever reason, this one has never grabbed me. I tried again this time around, and it's just not there for me. So I had to put it at 4.
All right. Danny, why don't you go next?
Okay. For me, at 4 was like without even a close second, the Larry Coryell Barefoot Boy. I played these records because the only we were driving back from Cruise to the Edge, and I had the whole band hostage in the car, and none of them are into guitar music. Like
Oh,
they're just like, yeah, I know. It's like Holdsworth sometimes, but like they're not fans, and like especially saxophone Danny, like even like you play in West Montgomery, and it's just like it sounds like a mediocre piano, like like a pianist. Like I was just like, dude, like it's like the best thing that ever happened, and then like but it's impossible to convince him with some guys he likes, but like, but yeah, that was the one that I played first, and they were all just like, please turn it off. It was anyway, it was for me like it just sounded. I never liked Larry Coryell. It's not my cup of tea. Just thought it was like the sloppy, fast playing, the wah, that fucking wah. All like it's a new thing, It's just like there's a thing I despise in general when jazz players pick up like an electric instrument, like and treat it like they're discovering this new sound. Like look at what I'm gonna do next. It's like it's like distortion. So it had a little bit of that vibe to me. I like Roy Haynes. Like I always just I like anything he does. I like how he touches the drums. I like how he builds solos. But it just felt so lazy. Like it felt like a jam, basically. Like the tunes were just really, really like dragging forever to my ear. And like
Well, Danny,
how many tunes are on that album?
it's three.
Great.
Three.
Three, right?
But
That's not enough tunes for an album.
do you know the way it's listed on the album? It just says a rare session from, Larry Coryell with Ray Haynes and
Yeah.
Steve Marcus. I mean, did they just go in the studio and kind of?
It sure sounds like it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like
Especially that third track, the long track, just is pretty much a jam.
dude, it was just so it was like I also like when you're playing it and other people are listening and you're in charge of DJing and like I'm like we're listening to this whole thing, and I could I could feel like the anger build towards me during that thing. I was just like, there's like five more albums after this. We were like
Nice.
driving from Georgia to like I don't even know where, like 8 hours. So it's just like this is gonna be a long day for you guys. Yeah, it was I never heard it before. Deeply traumatizing album. Hated every minute of it. Really awful experience. Would not recommend it to my worst enemy.
How do you really feel, Danny?
Uh, I really despised it. It was bad. There was no like. It was an experience to my ear that had no redeeming qualities. That's
Okay.
how I would put it. Yeah, didn't like it.
Well, okay.
Right.
Pete.
So this was an interesting collection of albums. My number one, I knew right off the bat. I'm pretty sure I knew what my number two was going to be, and then three and four were kind of difficult, and I went back and forth between three and four like all week long. I ultimately decided to settle on John McLaughlin Extrapolation from '69. So I've had this album for ages. And I remember when I first started getting into McLaughlin, a lot of people were like, oh, you got to, extrapolation's where it's at. It's where it's at. And like George, I never really warmed up to it all that much. I remember like so many people saying, oh, some of his best playing is on that album. I find there's not enough John McLaughlin on this album for my taste.
Yeah.
I think John's sermon is great. He's a great. I have some sermon stuff where they play together on, and it's fine for what it is. But like George said, it's more like old school jazz, I think, and less fusion. Some of the stuff is kind of groovy. I like the title track a lot. It's funny. It has a nice swing to it. I like that. Aryan's Bag, pretty good. Pete the Poet, it's got some really great bass playing on it from
Yeah.
Brian Hodgers, who I'm not really familiar with. I don't really care much for McLaughlin's tone on this record. He's got a very kind of clean tone, which is fine, and his playing is good, but I don't as a John McLaughlin album, I want to hear more of him. And I find that he's almost like a sideman on this album. And, some of the songs are okay. Binky's Beam's kind of a fun jam. To me, I'm more interested in what John Sermon is doing on this album on sax because I think he kind of carries the whole record. So I hadn't listened to this in a long, long time. And my opinion is exactly the same as it was when I first got it all those years ago. So it's good, not a great McLaughlin album. So that I made the decision that was going to be my number four here.
All right.
I hate to put Johnny Mac in number four because I don't know if we've done that before, but
Kind of the fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go 2 for 2 because I'm going to agree with Danny and I'm going with Larry Coryell, Barefoot Boy. What I got from this one was I kind of dug it. I know, Danny, you were mentioning the sloppy playing. For some reason, that felt like it gave it a little rawness that I kind of liked. And I
yeah.
like the album. I'm not on your end in terms of
Sure.
despising it. But what I got from it was what kept coming back to me was hypnotic. Like it seemed like the background music kind of got in a groove, locked in a groove, and stayed there. And then all the playing went on over the top of it. And it seemed like each track was like that. Like they'd kind of find a spot, and then that's kind of you had this little hypnotic music going on while Larry was kind of playing over the top of it and kind of built a little bit. I mean, I think that first track, Gypsy Queen, is pretty raw. And I think that's where you were when you brought up the wah wah. I think that's the one that stuck in my head where I felt like I remembered hearing wah in that one quite a bit. But like the drums and percussion kind of just get into that hypnotic mode and same thing. And I think his tone changed a little bit. He kind of had a gritty tone. I think The Great Escape, a little more clean, bluesier. And I agree that last track, whatever, just kind of ends up meandering to me. It just went on a little too long. I like that they added piano on that. I felt like the record needed something to give it a little change, but I don't know that overall it did all that much for me in terms of comparing it to the others. So I'm also going with Larry Coryell at number 4. Hey, George, back to you.
My number 3. I had never checked this one out before. I used to see it in secondhand tunes and just whatever about it, it just never screamed to me, pick me up. Like Danny said, very jammy. I don't hear any composition here. I hear jams. Um, I'll give kudos right away though to Steve Marcus, especially the solo on the first song, Gypsy Queen. I think he's tearing it up. I'm surprised Mr. Markovich didn't at least appreciate that because he's really going for it. Again, like the McLaughlin, I feel like the sax player is overshadowing the damn band leader. It shouldn't happen, but
Yeah.
in that Gypsy Queen tune also, after Marcus does this incredible solo, Coryell comes in and does like a Hendrix vibe. He's like doing all these dives and squeals, and it's like this don't even sound like the Coryell I know from 11th House, but then he does start playing like that. Um, I can hear some Hendrix influence in other parts of the record too. It's kind of interesting. All these songs are over long. I like Gypsy Queen a little bit, but it's 12 minutes. It don't need to be 12 minutes. And that last song, the 20-minute song, I check out of that like halfway through every time I listen to it. I was just like kind of losing focus. I don't know. Overall, it's a little bit dull for me. I like Roy Haynes as a jazz drummer, but I think this would have benefited from someone with more backbeat, like a Alphonse Mouzon, somebody who Larry played with a couple of years down the line from here. I think it would have been better with a guy like that. And I certainly didn't need the 4-minute drum solo in the epic, but it's a decent album, but I probably won't go back to it. That's my number 3.
All right, Danny.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off what you said, many bands just have saxophone players who are just better at soloing than their guitar players. It's just not ours, but other bands. Yeah, but in any case, yeah, my number 3 is the McLaughlin one. I checked it out like when I was in college briefly. I still remember it, and it wasn't like for me then. Um, I'm not a huge McLaughlin fan. I never was. Like any period, it's always like something in the tone, the dryness, and like the picking, just like constant picking. Like I'm opinionated. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like especially with guitar, it's like what it's there's just like I have very strong feelings when I hear guitar players, and they're very nitpicky. Like there are things that like I find it's weird. It's hard for me to kind of disassociate from it. But something in the articulation, yeah, constant picking, like da 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 da, that kind of thing drives me crazy. I did like the drum sound on the album a lot. Like they're getting like this really crisp metallic clank on the cymbals, like especially for the time period. I never heard of that drummer, some British dude. I don't remember his name. And I thought they did a great job, like just in terms of like bass and drums, and like the way that they sounded, like it sounded like a nice jazz album. It did feel like not fusion in the slightest. It felt like they were, into Coltrane, and right at the tail end of that era, trying to just do the kind of stuff that they grew up listening to, kind of like before they took it into their own direction of rock and the Mahavishnu thing that happened later. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The tunes weren't bad. I liked how they were all kind of rolling into each other. It was like, it felt like one big long song, the way it was kind of pieced together, no gaps between the songs, that they just kind of naturally bleed into each other. That was nice, especially for listening to a whole record type experience. And yeah, John Sermon, his tone was nice. That's probably the best I've ever heard him play. A lot of the stuff that I heard him on was not in that vein. So it wasn't bad. I liked it. I didn't love it, but yeah, that's my number three.
Pete?
My number three, I'm going to go with Barefoot Boy. I enjoyed this. I never owned this. I have so much Coryell, but for whatever reason, I never owned this one. But it was kind of cool to hear this. I will agree with kind of what George was saying. I think it's lacking in kind of composition here, but I really like the playing a lot. I think Gypsy Queen is lots of fun. I think that's a pretty chaotic and like jammy take on that song. And I think, granted, I know Danny doesn't like it. It's on the wah wah pedal, man. I'm all in. I like wah wah anything, so I overuse mine as well. So I don't have an issue with that. The sax is just screaming up a storm. I really like that. That's fun. I really like The Great Escape, which I think to me of the three tracks on here is the closest we get to an actual kind of song. It's funky. It's kind of bluesy. It's got
There's a
really
little melody.
a little bit, yeah. The percussion's really well done, and I think the guitar licks are really good. So I don't mind the first two tracks. Call to the Higher Consciousness, the 20-minute long piece. Um, it's about 10 minutes too long, probably. But there are parts of it I really like. I think what I do dig on this is there are sections that remind me of what Santana and McLaughlin did together when they played together for those couple of years. And I kind of dig that. It's got some nice, solos all over the place, probably too many. You got a sax solo, guitar solo, piano solo, a big long drum solo. You know, it's a little bit long, but I think there's some good stuff on this album. I kind of like it. It's really different for him, though. George mentioned like the 11th House before. I mean, this is like the anti 11th House, and it's very much what I get from this. It's almost like kind of like, and one of you guys mentioned it too. It's like Larry kind of doing like a Jimi Hendrix sort of thing, which it's kind of cool. I like it. I thought it was good. Recorded at Electric Lady Studios, which I think was pretty interesting.
Oh,
Engineered by Eddie Kramer. So go
cool.
figure. But yeah, that was my number three. So number three and number four, I kind of struggled with which to put, but the next two are a different story.
All right. And I'm going with McLaughlin at number three. I got to agree with you guys. I thought I went out actually, and I was not familiar with this, but since I wanted to put these four guys together, this was one of his highest rated solo albums on Rate Your Music.
It is.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked it, and I figured, oh, cool, I can now check something out that I don't really know. And I kind of dug the jazzier vibe. As I started listening to it, I'm like, yeah, it's not as fusiony as I would have expected. And I found some of his playing was a little bluesy. He was kind of sneaking the bluesy stuff in with the jazz stuff, like Argent's Bag, I think, kind of had a bluesy feel to his playing. Um, I did like Pete the Poet. I felt that was kind of improv-y and gave them a chance to jam on that one quite a bit. And I thought his tone, even though it's clean through a lot of it, gets grittier as you get into some of the songs. So he was at whether it was a little distortion or just cranking the amps up a little bit in the studio. I felt like he kind of went from a clean tone to a little grittier tone as you kind of worked your way through the albums. I liked it. I mean, this is stuff that I'm trying to check out along with the fusion stuff. So I was kind of digging it. And like you said, the sax was really good on this. And that was the one thing I think after I got done listening to it, I'm like, oh, this is equal parts, if not more, a sax album than a guitar album. So but like I said, I went out and looked. I kind of wanted something I hadn't heard before. And being it's either his highest rated or one of his highest rated out there. So that's why I went with it. But same thing, I'm going with McLaughlin at number three.
Those are like Mahavishnu backlashers. They just want to pick something else besides that. So
Yeah.
they go old, because devotion's real high too. So the first two, the old stuff, man.
Gotta have it. Okay, back to you, George.
Well, my next one is the Holdsworth IOU. Um, just to put it out there, the main thing for me with this is I don't like Paul Williams at all. I've never liked Paul Williams. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure what it is. Technically, he's fine. He hits the notes. I mean, the melodies are just so odd. I don't, is it because he's singing over the way Alan writes, or does he just have weird melodies? I don't know. But every time he comes in, I cringe. It's just like,
Just say it, George. He doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
I'm
Alan wrote the melodies and the
okay, that's
lyrics.
what I thought. And uh absolutely the songs do well without him because I went on one of those AI remove the vocal sites and I did versions of them and they sound fine, believe me, they don't need him. And I think they're written like he wasn't there. Like Alan wrote them, and then somebody decided, hey, let's throw a few vocal tunes on here, and they
Some
just added.
record exec came in, right? Said you need some
That's what
vocals.
that's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. So and that's half the album. There's 8 songs, and 4 of them are vocal tunes. Granted, a couple of the vocal tunes, the first couple vocal tunes are great, minus Paul Williams. They really jam when he checks out. The things you see in checking out, those 2 tunes are super cool musically. But as soon as Paul Williams comes in, it's like, oh no. Um, all 4 instrumentals are great, especially Letters of Mark. That's fantastic. One of Alan's best solos, maybe for back in this particular time period. And Gary Husband's solo is great on there. He's so killer on this. He's really, really good on this.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to mention, did you guys notice that abrupt ending on
Yes.
Temporary Fault?
Oh yeah.
What is up with that?
Yeah.
That was so weird.
I'm sure there's a story there.
Yeah.
Something else fades quick too. There's either a quick fade or something, but yeah, that one definitely you can pick up on. It's like, what happened there?
It was almost like demo-y. It felt like it was in some band's demo. Like why didn't they clean this up?
Yeah.
But small beef. It's just the problem is the vocal tunes for me. I can't embrace this album like I want to. Although I grabbed MP3s of all the vocalist ones that I made, and I'm gonna start listening to it with those in there now that we're done with this, and see if I really, really embrace it. But it's a cool album, but wasn't gonna be my number one just because of those vocal tunes. You can't overcome that.
Danny.
Oof. Even at this moment, I don't know which one to put.
We do that all the time.
To,
It's
to
all right.
put like it's like I'm gonna say something that's maybe not in the ethos of this program, but I'm going to choose number like okay. I'll put El DiMeola's album at number 2, but it's a far better album. It's on every level, like as an album, it's a fusion masterpiece. In my mind, I think it's the best album he's ever made. Uh, for El DiMeola, that's my favorite El DiMeola. It always has been. His guitar tone is killer. Just like I like it way more than the acoustic stuff. When he plays acoustic on it, it's great. It influenced like everybody. Uh, the lineup is killer. The tone is killer. The tunes are just everyone like I just think the whole thing is good. But it's my number 2 because I just personally, I didn't even know there were songs and not just guitar solos till I was like 25. I would fast forward to guitar solos, and that's how I listened to music growing up. I didn't even Metal Fatigue, for instance, was one of my favorite. I owe you too, but like Metal Fatigue was one of my favorite albums. I don't think I listened to a full song from Metal Fatigue till my mid 20s. I would just like, and I would listen to the solo section like I didn't care about chords. I just cared about like that part. I'd have it like I'd cut it, like you know what I mean. Like I just make myself a version of it on a tape, and I just listen to it in a loop. Sometimes I'd record the solo like 7 times in a row to where I could just listen to that in my Walkman, you know. And yeah, so talking about number 2, not number 1, but it's yeah. Al Di Meola, amazing album, probably one of the best fusion albums I would say of all time, beginning to end, fun to listen to, great lineup, great players. Al is like the solos are everything's great. I don't know, it's a great album.
Pete.
I'm gonna go with IOU, my number 2 spot. Um, I found as I've gotten older, God, how do I put this? Kind of like what Danny was just saying. I find that with a good chunk of Allan's solo catalog, I get a little restless sometimes during the songs, and I'm just waiting for that guitar solo. And I find with this album, I don't have an issue with Paul Williams' voice. He just doesn't need to be here. It's like a distraction. He'll come in for 30 seconds and I look to the air, and I'm just kind of like, just shut up and go away so Allan can come back in. And I just don't understand it. I never have. I think this is one of those albums because I mean Allan's playing is otherworldly on here. I don't think any of us, would argue that. I think Gary Husband is doing some terrific stuff. I mean, musically, it's great. Um, but some of the vocal tracks just seem disjointed like that. Like just like George said, it's like these vocals were just thrown in there at the last minute just to have some vocal tunes, and I just don't understand it at all. That being said, there is like a airiness to a lot of these arrangements, which is pretty cool. Some song, I mean, Letters of Marque is great. I love like a perfect example of what I was just talking about. Out from Under. I mean, Allan comes in with this dan, 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 dan. It's like, yes. And then all of a sudden, dan, dan, and then there's Paul again. And I'm just kind of like, no. It's like, oh, I just don't get it. But there's some amazing solos on here. Shallow Sea, White Line, so good. So, I mean, the things you see, it's got some totally like, was it 2 minute long guitar solo in it? Really, really great. I
I think
prefer it's all these years later. I think I prefer Metal Fatigue more as an album, to be honest with you. But there's some amazing playing on here from everybody. I just, there just doesn't need to be four vocal tunes on here. Just doesn't. I think this could be a legendary fusion album. Maybe to some people it is. To me, I never thought it's quite to that level because of that reason. But Allan is amazing on it, as Allan always is. So yeah, that's my number two.
all right. I'm gonna follow suit, and I'm gonna throw a little Dannyism in on this one. I think if I had to pick a favorite guitar player, it's going to be Holdsworth over DiMeola. But as Danny said, I think the DiMeola album is a better album. Allan's a game changer, as was Al. But it's like you said, I want to ask you guys because I have a vocal thing as well. But Paul Williams sometimes he'll give me a wetting vibe. I don't know why. And you're probably going to say I don't hear it, but for some reason, that's what I hear from him. Maybe it's just that deeper voice. But like you said, I mean, there's four vocal tracks on here, not necessary. Pete, you mentioned Shallow Sea. That one also, I think, has an odd ending. I think that's the other one I was thinking of. But God, Allan just rips on that. I think Letters of Marquee, that's my favorite in terms of his solos on this record. Terrific. And Where's the One is also just fire. And just that trio, like you said, you're listening to the music and you're just like, don't put the vocals in. So I gotta start visiting that site George has so I can pull the vocals out of some of this stuff. But I don't know. I've been listening to a lot more Holdsworth lately, and I think in terms of guitar player, he's definitely my favorite of the four that we have here. As much as I love Al, but yeah, I got to go with as an album. This has to be number two on my list.
In Search of the Vocalless IOU album.
All right, George, rip it up.
Well, my number one is Al. Like a couple of you said, it's just the best album. Al was my first fusion guitar hero too. When I first started getting into fusion, it was with RTF and the solo albums of RTF. So Al was the first guy that I was enamored with. Just loved his picking and loved that whole Latin feel. And this album, it's great. The Wizard, the title track. My favorite song is Sweet. That song is amazing. All the parts of it, the unison stuff in the beginning, and the funk with Jocko and Muzan in the middle, everything. The soloing, Barry Miles and Al doing the trade-offs, phenomenal stuff. A couple minor bumps in the road. I don't understand the Bach piece. Like I never associated DiMeola with classical. here or anytime after. I never knew that he. I just don't understand why that's on here. It's just a little bit of an odd thing, and of course the vocal tune's not very good, but I mean we're expecting that. To me, if you kick the Bach tune and the vocal tune and you put another fusion song on, this album's really dangerous. But as it is, it's still killer. So it had to be my number one.
And those two tracks you mentioned are pretty short, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they go. Yeah,
like a
it's like
4 minute long fusion
it
song.
really doesn't feel like it ruins the whole experience. Like,
no.
you know.
But it's a weird roadblock in the middle of the album that they put them back to back. First of all, that's a little odd, and then they put them in the middle. I don't know. It seemed to always seem weird to me.
Yeah.
Right. Danny.
Well, for me, it's I somehow had to choose Allen. I don't know. It's just what I like, you know. It's I just like him. It's I can really the way I spend time with music, like I said before, I will really listen to a solo a lot of times, skip through a song. It's ADD, and I've always been like for me as a listener, since like I discovered like Metallica and Megadeth, which were like my first two loves, especially Megadeth. I would just listen to them, you know. It's just like I don't know about this, but like I really like this, you know, and I just focus all my attention as a listener, not just learning solos, just listening to the solos again and again and again. And I certainly have done that with this album in the past, especially like, you know, Letters of Mark is like one of the solos that I really like know by heart, not to play, but just like, you know, I can hum along to them. And it's, I don't know, it's like for me, it's a part of like the music that shaped me. Also, I think that Gary Husband is the best at catching stuff when Allen's playing. Like there's Metal Fatigue, I think is a way better album, but there's something about like the interaction that he has with Chad Wackerman that is like it's interesting. It's like more floaty, but like it's less like going at it. Like I think they both come from like the same Coltrane kind of like ethos, and they're going after things in the same way. So when Alan's trying to sort of peak, it seems to me that you know there's a support. There's something that like the waves are they're catching the waves together in a way that I would say the only other time I really heard that with Alan would be like 16 Men of Tane. Like and I like people. I guess it's just people named Gary who can do that. Any Gary can really serve Alan well. But yeah, my number one. But I will admit that it's a way worse album than the DiMeola album as an album. But I still like it more.
Pete.
Land of the Midnight Sun. I mean, I've often called this my favorite DiMeola solo album. It's this and Electric Gypsy have battled back and forth with me for 40 years. I love this album. I think it's great. I mean, look at the players on here. Chick's on here. Jocko's on here. Barry Miles, Stanley Clark, Anthony Jackson, Steve Gadd, Alfonso Mouzon, Lenny White. I mean, Mingo Lewis for crying out loud. I mean, I love The Wizard is an amazing song, and
Mhm.
it's amazing on the Mingo Lewis album as well. It's a little bit different here, but it's, you know, so much is the same. It's a total burner. The Suite is incredible. I honestly, I wish DiMeola did more stuff with Jocko because I think they
Yeah.
work very, very well together. In fact, on our Eric's pick, we're going to talk about that whole concept again of Jocko working with a guitar player once, and it's amazing. We wish we had more. And Jocko and Muzan together is just absolute fire. I love it. I mean, there's just some amazing guitar soloing on this album, but really, there's great playing from everybody. I love Chick's Short Tales of the Black Forest. You know, it's like piano and acoustic guitar, just incredible stuff. It's a great album. I absolutely love it, and it's one of my favorite fusion albums. So easy number one for me.
Yep, that leaves no surprises. I'm also going with Al. I think, and I said I if I could pick who I could play like, I'd pick Holdsworth. But how you can't be just dazzled with DiMeola's articulation, the picking precision, the speed that he picks at is I just I can't even fathom how he does it. And I know you, George, Pete, you guys like that Latin flair that he brings to his music. Pete, you mentioned all the players on this. It's amazing, and I agree. I think Elegant Gypsy I like a little better, but this, like the Wizard, like you guys said, it just opens. It's on fire. Title track is fantastic. The picking is standout in that one. Um, as we mentioned with the vocal tunes, I just had to say, I'm like, did somebody put a roofie in Al's wine for that pictures of the sea? It's like, God, that and George, I'll take the little Bach piece before it, but you could knock that one off and I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking there, but if there's a misstep, that's the misstep. I mean, everything else on here, the suite, I love it. Like Pete said, the acoustic playing on the closing track. It's just amazing. Al's absolutely amazing player, as everyone knows. I've got to see him. I'm actually seeing him in June. I think his acoustic show. He's doing the Jazz Fest in Saratoga. So I'm pretty excited to see that. I saw his electric show last year. Just awesome. Love Al DiMeola. So I don't know. We're pretty consistent in our picks. So that I don't know. I'll have to work on my next one, George, if I'm allowed to do one at some point, make it a little tougher on everybody. So but as we usually get with the George's picks, you're gonna get an Eric's pick here today. So let me just bring this one up. And Pete inspired this pick, or at least George said, let's do something for Pete. And as we said with the Jocko connection, we've got Pat Metheny's Bright Size Life from, I think, 1976. Is that correct?
It's 75, I think, yeah.
75? Okay. All right, George.
Um, this is a good album. It's of a obviously you can see on the bottom there it says ECM, so you know it's of a certain type. But for me, it's on the high end of that type. It's one of my favorite ECM records that I've heard. The title track, especially, that's kind of a fusion standard. I mean, a lot of people have played that tune. Just a great melody. It's instantly memorable in your head. If that doesn't get to you, I don't know, something's wrong. Another song almost as good is Unquity Road.
Yeah.
Is that a real word? Because I looked it up and I couldn't find it. So I don't know how to pronounce it if it's not a real word, but
I've only ever heard of it on this album. That's it.
Yep.
yeah, that's another one that people have covered. I mean, it's a very appealing tune. For me, those two are the class of the album. I also liked Missouri Uncompromised, Omaha Celebration, and Round Trip, especially. Uh, Jocko used to do Broadway blues when he was doing his solo gigs years later after this. So he obviously appreciated it as well. The only downish tracks for me, maybe Midwestern Night Dream is a little passive, and Unity Village maybe a little bit, but yeah, it's a good solid album. I would say it's a mood piece though. For me, I have to be in the mood for something like this, but when I am, it's a good record. So
Danny, your thoughts?
Um, yeah, so I'll preface it by saying I'm a huge Metheny fan. I like Metheny from Off Ramp to Imaginary Day. That's my that's my golden years of Metheny. I love Pat Metheny group. I understand how soft that is. I am embarrassed when I play it for people and they see how much I like it. But it's a thing. It's I grew up with it. Like one of my first albums that I ever really got into was Secret Story. My mom got it for me when I was like 9 years old, way before I started playing guitar, and I was just like, oh, I just always loved it. It's just like it was always on like throughout my life. And when I moved to Chicago, it was like very intentionally, like we got together with Vertigo and with Steve Rodby to make music together, and a lot of like that Metheny era was like personally for me like the I don't think there's music I listen to more than like that Metheny group era. With that, I don't like Bob Moses. I don't like what he brings to the table. I don't like he how he plays around the ideas. I don't like there's something about the interaction with the drummer that I feel like doesn't bring out the best of Metheny. I also think Metheny went through a gigantic growth spurt in his own playing in the early 80s. Like he's just like a lot of in his phrasing and in his lines, like he really just evolved. There was like this period of time where he just started like being really burning, and that you see glimpses of that in Bright Life, but not a lot. But again, some with that said, I love how he plays. So, like that talent and like the time and the tone, it's all there obviously at that age, and with those tune and some of the tunes like George said are great. Bright Life is a classic tune. It's a good song. There are other good songs on the album too, and I don't know. I love Weather Report, love Jocko. I always feel like that fretless bass tone with all that size and mid range makes a clean electric guitar feel small in relation to it, unless it's a distorted tone like DiMeola uses. So, like when you are dealing with that much mid range in the bass, you are in a space competition with the guitar. And for me, like the reason something that Pat Metheny, like I think intuitively understood about his own music is that if he's gonna use that kind of Wessy, slightly more modern chorus, verby sound, an upright bass gets out of his way. And I think that his tone feels smaller than it does in later records, but I think it's because Jocko's like drinking that sonic space. So it's but again, Metheny, great album, great tunes for it.
Danny, you don't have to feel embarrassed to love Pat Metheny. Come on.
Yeah, well, just eras of what I mean. Like when the synth and like those synth clavier loops kick in, my wife is like, "Is this?" She's like, "Is this elevator music?" I was like, "No, it's just music I love. It's how my heart sings." Yeah.
Right, Pete.
Well, if anybody's followed me on this channel for at least a few years knows how much I love this album, and I love Pat Metheny. This is a great album. I love this trio, and I wish they did more together. I think Pat and Jocko really work well together. I kind of agree a little bit that Jocko could suck a little of the, I don't know what it is. Jocko is just this imposing presence. I mean, I get that. I also get that in Weather Report too, because I think he sucks a little bit out of Wayne Shorter when he joins Weather Report. So I think that's just a Jocko thing. However, I love Metheny's playing on this album. I think that kind of silky smooth tone that he always has is in fine form here. He's doing some pretty fast stuff as well. I mean, he would get even better. I totally agree with you because, man, those first couple of Pat Metheny group albums, which are just right around the corner from this, amazing.
Mhm.
But, the title track is one of my favorite jazz related songs of all time. I just absolutely love it. It's just a joy to listen to. Um, Unquitty Road is great. I love the Road Trip Broadway Blues. I think it's a great jam. I like Cirebon, which to me, that track I think foreshadows what he would do with the Pat Metheny group. I always like, everybody lists Pat Metheny or the Pat Metheny group as a fusion act, and I guess they are, but it's very different. To me, it's almost kind of like I call it like heartland jazz. That's like kind of like the vibe that I get from this stuff, and it's real feel good music. Um, I love it. I love the synergy between all three players on here. Like I said, I wish they did more together. And it's to me always been one of my favorite Pat Metheny albums, and it's an absolute joy to listen to. And I'm glad that Eric picked it for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to George. I have a ton of Pat Metheny, and I probably don't listen to him as much as I should. And George mentioned the mood thing, and I've been listening to this a lot. I get up early for work, so I'm working at 5:30 in the morning. This has been my 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning music, and it just worked for me. I was like,
That is great early morning music.
it,
Absolutely. And that's, I've told the story before. I listened to him more than any other artist during the pandemic. just for whatever reason, you're up, you're out of the house, you can't go anywhere. You're trying to lift your spirits up a little bit. And I just found Pat's music just that got me out of the doldrums of everything that we were going through at the time. So I'll always be indebted to him for like helping me out personally through that tough time that we all went through.
He was your music you leaned on, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've found that it kind of sets the tone for my morning. I've been listening to these for the month for the show. And you have to respect somebody who pretty much when you put something on, you know it's him, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you say that with Stern, you can say that with Holdsworth. You say you know you're listening to Pat Metheny when you put a Pat Metheny record on. But this one was new to me. I did not have this. I've got a bunch. This was one I didn't have. You guys have mentioned them, but Missouri Uncompromised was my favorite track by far. I think Round Trip Broadway Blues was good, and I dug the vibe with him and Jocko. I really did. Um, I thought it was really good, and I know what you're saying, Danny, but for me, it just kind of worked. It was almost like trade-off kind of thing. You focus on Jocko a little bit, and then you get Pat's lines coming in, and I don't know, just terrific. And I always say that it's not that I don't have a lot of Metheny, but I think this got to where I said, when this is done, we have to do our homework. So you got to do that. I'm going to be throwing a little more Pat on in the morning, I think, when I'm up doing my thing. So I enjoyed this one. But I do agree with George. It's a mood thing, but I think I found my groove and when and where to listen to Pat, and I think it's going to move forward, uh, getting a lot more stuff on for him in the mornings. So
Mm.
that's my take on that, and that's our four square. So that was awesome. And Danny, why don't you give us a little update on Marvin or yourself as to what you're doing, what's coming up?
Oh, well, we just got off Cruise to the Edge. We're doing On the Blue Cruise. That's the Moody Blues Cruise in August, and we're going to be touring. We actually have an earlier thing coming up in May. We're going up to, I think, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Rockford, like like that part of Michigan, the other part of Michigan. What's it called? Like Upper Peninsula, the
Peninsula.
UP. Yeah, we have a show up north there, and yeah, just a few Midwest states, and then we're doing like an East Coast tour because the boat leaves from Boston, so we're going to play in New York City. We're playing in what's it called, Iridium. So yeah, touring and probably going to make a new album this summer. And for me, it's just been content, like just making guitar instructional content like a madman. Our channel's been kind of exploding, and we have like a Patreon for guitar that has like, I don't even know, like 2,400 members now. It's just become
Wow.
like a business. So I didn't think I didn't think my life is headed this direction, but you make children and you start doing things for money, and it's one thing leads to the other, and yeah, it's just like making video content has been like a major thing in my life now. So yeah, that's been real cool.
Keep us posted on those tour dates. I'm
Yeah,
sure they'll be on your website, right?
yeah, a lot
Get
of them
them out
already
there.
posted. You can check them out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And George, you have a little teaser for next month?
Yeah, next month we got Mike Chadwick coming back on. We are going to do, it was inspired by, I think the last time we had him on or the time before, that we were able to turn him on to a band he never heard before with Mr. Motaba. And that was like a 90s obscurity. So this square is going to be hidden 90s gems
Oh,
for that very few people have heard of, but maybe they should have.
that's like
Yeah.
every Tribal Tech album.
These are much more hidden than those. So, yeah, that should be good. Mike's psyched about it. So, should be a good one.
Awesome. And thank you for the opportunity. This was fun. I enjoyed putting it together. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you
I
for
thought it
having
was
me.
a
Well
good
done.
idea.
Job well done, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
'Cause he's a veteran. He's got that like let's jam show thing going on now. So
Yeah.
I do want to mention too, Eric and I, mostly me, spirited on, but Eric's been on me before too. And actually, Pete, the three of us have talked about having a mid-month uh, mid-month show, smaller, different to just to keep the 4Fusion thing on people's minds. So the first one is going to be on the 16th. We're going to do it's going to be a different show. It's going to be song based, like song battle based. We got I got a guest book for that, Mike Pagodich. He's a piano player off the West Coast, very Chick Corea-ish, but he's going to sit in with us and do a Hiromi song battle. So
Cool.
I would say everyone should check the new show out and see what you think of it. I think it's going to be good. Pete's won't be a regular, but he is going to be dipping in when time allows.
Yeah, we're getting Pete. Pete will be on. We're getting
Oh
him.
yeah,
Of course. Of course.
he's going to
Well,
hear about.
I'll let you guys get it off the ground, and then when you feel you want to jump in, I can certainly do so.
I'll tell him about some song bracket. He'll be like, "Oh, I got to
Yeah.
do that."
Yeah.
Yeah, a little tempting never hurts.
That's what Eric has already done with me with Let's Jam. He's let me know like what his plans are for the next like 6 episodes. He goes, "Well, I think this one will be perfect for you." I'm like, "I think so too." So yeah.
Get you out there. All
Maybe
right.
we'll get Penny back on that one too, and
Yeah.
we'll see.
Take
And
us
then-
out, Eric. Take us out.
Well, I didn't know if you had anything what's coming up for the weekend.
Let's see. It is Friday, right? Okay. We've got the UK connection this weekend. That's right. So we've got a fun show planned. It's going to be one of those shows. Steve, Simon, and I are going to be talking about 5 bands or artists that don't necessarily fall into the SOT paradigm. So bands or artists that we normally wouldn't talk about on this channel that we really don't like a lot or at all. So that's coming up. So it's going to be one of those episodes. So
That'll be a
everybody
fun-
loves those kind of episodes. So
Yeah.
we're getting
That'll
one
be a fun one.
tomorrow. And then we will be ranking the albums on Sunday of Coney Hatch. And I will be joined by Grant Arthur, Rich Catino, and John Gaffney for that. And I think I'm doing a separate ranking show by myself where I'll be ranking the albums of the 80s hard rock metal band icons. So that's coming up this weekend. So yeah, lots going on. As always, the next week is Hudson Valley Squares week on Monday. So that should be fun. Gonna take a look at Combat Records, right? So it'll be a fun episode.
Awesome.
All right. Well, again, Danny, thank you for joining us
Thanks
this
for having
month.
me.
And everyone who watches, make sure to check out Marvin, their music, their website. Maybe take a couple lessons from Danny, right?
There we go.
Get you on there. So, all right. So check us out on the web, www.seaoftranquility.org. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube all the damn time.
That's right.
And please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you're notified of all the content that comes on the channel. And in addition to that, check out the links below. Merch, Ko-Fi, Cameo, and membership options are there. So again, thank everyone for watching and join us next month on 4Fusion Friday.
See you, everybody. Thanks for watching.
See ya. Bye bye.